He may be sitting out the rest of the spring, but when the 2013 season arrives, can South Carolina D lineman Jadeveon Clowney win the Heisman Trophy? For that debate, we bring in our managing editor, Pete Futek, and Rich Sermonillo from College Football News. All right, time for opening statements, gentlemen. Rich, you say Clowney not only can win, but should win. Explain.
I think he can, I think he should, and I actually think he will. And it's sort of a simple response, Ray. Jadeveon Clowney is the best football player in the land. And for me, when I look at just a couple of weeks from now, we have the NFL draft. If Clowney was available, he would be the top pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. But even more important to that is the buzz. And we've never had a defensive player begin a season with so much attention. Everywhere I've traveled since the beginning of the year, two questions come up regarding the Heisman. Can Johnny Manziel repeat? And can Jadeveon Clowney be the first defensive player, exclusive defensive player, to win the award? So I think he's perfectly suited to stand atop the crowd in 2013.
I have fought the good fight for the last couple of years. Manti Te'o, I argued before the bowl game, and obviously I would have taken Johnny Manziel after the Bowls, but Manti Te'o was the signature player of the college football season last year. I voted for him for the Heisman. A couple years back, I fought for Jadeveon Clowney. I thought he was the best player in college football, deserved the Heisman over Mark Ingram. Obviously, that didn't work out all that well. It's really, really hard for an exclusive defensive player to rise above the fray and get in there. Now, we're talking about him more. He's in the mix. He's definitely, if he comes up with another 13-sack season, he's obviously going to be right there in the hunt for the Heisman. But it's so hard to do that, especially nowadays with the big-time quarterbacks and all the humongous stats come out there. So I don't think he's going to win it. I don't think he will win it. I don't think he's going to come close. It's, again, going to be offense, offense, offense. I love Clowney. He's going to be the first or second pick in the draft next year. Cyrus Kouandjio is going to be in that mix as well. I just don't think he's going to have the overall numbers. And again, let's say he has 9 sacks and has a big season. That's not going to do it. He's going to have something of astronomical, like 15 to 20 sacks, to even be remotely in this thing.
Real quick, Pete, to that point, the one thing I would say is if this were 5 years ago, I would totally agree with you. But I think last year really changed the dynamic for defensive players. Manti Te'o really sort of greased the skids for Clowney. The fact that he finished second, granted, it was a magical season, Notre Dame, the 7 picks, everything was sort of a perfect storm. But the fact that you had a linebacker, exclusively defensive player, finish number 2 to Johnny Manziel, I think that really helps Clowney's cause this year.
Well, but remember though, I mean, part of the reason was that because Notre Dame was number 1 in the country. If Notre Dame was like 10-2 and going off the Cotton Bowl, Manti Te'o probably wouldn't have been in that mix. Obviously, also like you mentioned the picks, but also the big plays in the big games. For Clowney, it's really going to come down to the big, huge games. If he destroys Florida and has some monster 5-sack game, or comes up really, really big against Georgia, then yes, he gets on the radar. Why did Johnny Manziel win it last year? Because he was having a really, really big year, and he blew up against Alabama, and after that, he was his Heisman for the taking. It's going to be so hard. But again, we're going to have a Manziel come from out of the blue. We're going to have someone somewhere put up just these astronomical numbers on a great team. Remember, our RG3, nobody had him in the preseason Heisman hunt. Certainly nobody had Cam Newton. Absolutely nobody had Johnny Manziel. And even nobody really had Mark Ingram to the stretch. So we're going to have some offensive guy out there that we've never really heard of who's going to pop up. He's going to be the guy. Clowney will end up in New York, but he's not going to win the Heisman.
All right, guys. So Clowney there, and then everybody else, it seems like the field. So look quickly, let's get your top 3 Heisman contenders. Pete, we'll start with you.
I'm going with you. The field, the field, the field. You can name any player you want, and I will say, fine, he might win the Heisman. I'll take some other guy out there. You think Johnny Manziel might repeat. Certainly Braxton Miller deserved more credit last year. My guy is my kind of rise up to the top of the ranks this year. Devin Gardner of Michigan. I think he's going to have a humongous season. But again, you name a player, yeah, he might win this. You want to take Taylor Martinez in Nebraska? Okay, maybe. You want to say Aaron Murray's going to do it? Okay, maybe. But I'm going with the field against anybody else you want to take.
Yeah, listen, obviously all of the talk is going to be Johnny Manziel and Jadeveon Clowney. I think one name that doesn't get enough attention and will this year is Marcus Mariota of Oregon. And, everybody wants to focus on his athleticism, the Colin Kaepernick comparisons as far as a dual threat. But what really impressed me is if you watch the film of Marcus Mariota as a passer last year, He got markedly better week after week, winds up being one of the top passers in terms of efficiency. We know what he could do outside the pocket as a runner. So I think he now becomes the identity, the face of the offense, even more than DeAnthony Thomas. Kenyon Barner, obviously no longer in Eugene. So watch Marcus Mariota possibly taking over, no longer Chip Kelly. He could be the face of Oregon, and that's a pretty good place to be if you're a Heisman contender.
You know, Mariota's a great pick. I mean, again, there's a huge field of guys out there. Johnny Manziel's going to be on the top of everyone's list. Clowney's going to be there too, but it's going to be a pretty fun year for the Heisman.
All right,
Taj Boyd, I don't think we mentioned, and probably should at this point.
The debate continues. It can just go on and on. Pete Futek, Rich Sermonello, thanks for joining us, guys. So who are the favorites in the new and improved Pac-12? We answer the biggest questions at Oregon, Stanford, USC, and UCLA right now on Campus Insiders.